My name's Alissa Goodman and I'm Director of the Centre for Longitudinal Studies in UCL, and I'm here to talk about the Early Life Cohort Feasibility Study, which is a new project funded by ESRC, and it's designed to test the feasibility of a new national birth cohort study for the UK. It's a relatively new project. We got started in April 2021, and we already have considerable learning from launching a feasibility study like this in the midst of a global pandemic. So the feasibility study has three main goals. A sampling goal, so we're testing the feasibility of drawing a national sample of babies born from each of the 4 nations of the UK, and with a particular focus on families that are typically underrepresented into studies like these. We have a measurement goal, so to test the feasibility of novel methods of data collection, including from surveys, observations, record linkages, and biosamples. And it has a very strong and intensive stakeholder engagement element as well. So I'll just point out one feature of the study design. If we had more time, I'd be keen to tell you much more. But just to say that the fieldwork was originally planned as face-to-face, both as the optimal mode for securing initial recruitment and engagement into the new study, and also to enable us to collect a number of novel neuro-informed measures of infant development and infant-child interactions, as well as biosamples. So there's huge benefits and opportunities from launching in the pandemic conditions. I think, as many of you know, the last national birth cohort study in the UK was the Millennium cohort, who are now in their 20s. And that study's been enormously valuable for both science and for policy on informing in the key issues facing that generation. It's very well understood that there's major challenges and inequalities facing families now in the post-pandemic era, and it's an ideal time to start. And the pandemic is also proving in our stakeholder engagement a very sort of strong motivating force for families to understand the reasons why a study like this is needed and to want to take part. So there's a huge opportunity there. There's also, of course, some challenges. So the biggest challenge we faced as a project so far is a project delay, which is due to UK fieldwork capacity. So those of you who are familiar with the national UK fieldwork industry, you'll be aware that the stop-start pattern to fieldwork that's been as a result of the changing sort of nature of regulations around face-to-face has caused massive capacity constraints, as well as quite some uncertainty about what can happen when. So the main upshot for us in this project is that fieldwork that we had planned and intended would take place in 2022 will in all likelihood not happen this year, but will take place in 2023 instead. So with all challenges, there are silver linings. It is certainly allowing some longer time for us in the developmental phase, including to our multiple applications ongoing to access the sample frame. And it's also allowing us to make sure that the stakeholder engagement that we've been doing can be fully reflected into the development of the study, its content, and its engagement strategies. So it's brought us some welcome time from that point of view. It's also prompting a valuable review of study mode. So while face-to-face, we believe as a study team remains scientifically optimal as the first of a long longitudinal study, both from an engagement and representation point of view, and is also required for some of the measurements that we have planned into the design. On the other hand, building in at this stage more remote methodologies and consideration of things like knock to nudge might prove more robust to external circumstances, not just now, but into the future, albeit with some measurement compromises. So it certainly, in terms of drawbacks of the challenges that we faced, certainly does lead to some tricky judgment calls. The fact that we're testing the feasibility of a new long-term study that would be set up in the future under extremely unusual conditions, and the discussion that I've just raised around mode is one primary example of that. The fact that it's taking a longer time than hoped will both delay the launch of a main cohort and the increased duration at the feasibility stage will increase the cost of the feasibility study, which may mean we have to limit some of our scientific goals. And that's still something that we're working through with the funder. So just to wrap up, we're really excited that we're collecting extremely valuable data about babies born at a very unique time. It's a more challenging environment for feasibility testing than we would hope for, but overwhelmingly from project start and as we go along, it's generating extremely important learning for the future in multiple directions. And I'm very I'm very grateful to Pasco Fearon and Lisa Calderwood, who are my study co-directors, and our fantastic UK-wide team, many of whom are pictured here.